Right for the Labor Party, Michael Danby, also a federal MP for Melbourne Ports. Thanks very much for your company.
Evening, Peter.
What is going on? I mean, one after another. I've got organisational operatives with Labor affiliations through the union movement in Paul House. We've got the Nationals. We've got the Liberals. Now we've got you coming on as a Labor MP. Why are you all ganging up on the Greens?
Well, this is something a view that I've held for a long time. 8 months ago, I said that. Taking up Michael Kroger's challenge that if the Libs don't give the Greens preferences, and remember they're only elected on Tony Abbott's preferences in Melbourne, then I won't be giving the Greens preferences in Melbourne Ports. But the thing that's really made Labor people angry all around the country, and Green voters too, many of whom are alienated Labor voters, is the Greens' failure to do anything on the asylum seekers. When they voted with the Liberals in the Senate, Doug Cameron, Daryl Melham, all of the people in the left of the party are as frustrated as Sam Dastyari, Paul House and me.
Well, that's because, according to Sarah Hanson-Young, who I spoke to on Sunday, you have no values. She says that the Labor Party have moved to a situation of no values. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's very sad to hear Sarah say that. I wish she was here debating me straight out about it. We don't think the value of letting people drown at sea and not coming up with solutions is a value. You know, I'm as much a humanitarian as her, and I really don't like, and I'm sure a great majority of Green voters who are alienated Labor voters resent being told that they have to have purist solutions only put forward by Sarah Hanson-Young and not any solution achieved that will stop these poor people drowning at sea.
Well, then, can I just ask you then about the alliance? I mean, I asked the same question of Paul House, and to be frank, he kind of avoided giving me a full and frank answer on it. I mean, you're a straight talker, Mr Danby. What are you doing in alliance with the Greens if you have such a low regard for their attitude, and if so many of your colleagues have the same regard in terms of some of the quotes that we've seen come out in recent days?
Well, I agree with the quote that the original sort of image of us doing this sort of grand alliance with the Greens was a mistake. That's an image issue. We have a strong view in support of the environment. We're against carbon pollution, and I'm sorry we vote with the Greens in the Senate on that particular issue. So we're in alliance with them, but it should be clearer to the Australian people that it's on that issue and other environmental issues. It's not on the broad sweep of matters like immigration, which are far too serious for us to be seen to be a sort of pale imitation of them. And we shouldn't let Tony Abbott off the hook with this either, Peter. We've voted with the Liberals against the Greens in the Senate 154 times between 2002 and 2012. I've got the paper here from the Parliamentary Library setting out all of the issues that we voted against them on. Tony Abbott, one matter of national interest, when we should be working together a solution to incorporate offshore processing, and I've admitted that I was wrong on this issue back in 2001 when we made these recommendations to the government. We should be working together in the Australian national interest to process some of these people offshore, have a decent solution for those that are allowed to come to Australia, and do what Malcolm Fraser and then Bob Hawke did with the Vietnamese refugees, process them regionally, see that they go to a wide variety of countries, and see that some of them come to Australia under humanitarian conditions.
Would you have rather that Sam Dastyari and Paul House gave the Prime Minister the courtesy, it has to be said, of telling her about their plans for state conference in New South Wales to bring this motion forward about preferencing, because she knew nothing about it?
I think you're reading too much into it, Peter.
But those are the facts.
I know the editorialists and the Financial Review is getting very agitated about conspiracies and all of this kind of stuff. I'm a very strong supporter of the Prime Minister. This is a widespread and genuine view of people in the Labor Party.
Mr Danby, I don't remember asking whether you were or weren't a strong supporter. You don't need to affirm that to me. This is just a simple fact, though, isn't it? At the end of the day, Sam Dastyari and Paul House did not tell the Prime Minister about their intention to do this.
Look, I have no idea whether she is aware of New South Wales state conference decisions, but you know, those guys are probably focused a little bit on their own their own backyard. She's focused on running the country. The point is that we need to do something about getting a solution for the poor people who are coming to Australia. We need to face up to the fact that offshore processing has to be one of those elements. I'm very pleased that Chris Bowen has negotiated some good conditions with the Malaysian government where these people can be treated humanely. And I say to Tony Abbott, mate, I never heard from you when I was talking about human rights in Malaysia before. How come you and all of the Liberals are talking about it now? It's completely another area of hypocrisy from the Liberals, just as much as we're getting it from the Greens.
Well, maybe conversion on the road to Damascus. They've now decided that, the importance of UN sanction of Nauru means that they can't support Malaysia.
Well, come on. Tony knows that it's going to cost $300 million to build the detention centre in Nauru, and it'd probably take a year. He's just happy for us to politically bleed to death with all of these people arriving until such a centre could be built. The Malaysian suggestion by Chris Bowen can go into operation straight away. Doesn't cost the Australian taxpayer that much because people there will have work rights. I just think we should do what the Australian people expect us to do. Get down and get some compromise that we can address this problem of boats coming every day. He and the Greens have left us in a situation where there's no legislation put up by the Australian Parliament, and I do hope that when experts like Metcalfe in Houston make some suggestions, whether Tony will participate in the parliamentary committee or not, that those commentators who are demanding that there be some compromise or some legislation to deal with this worsening problem of asylum seekers, call on him to step up and do what, as I said, we've done 154 times in the Australian Senate, vote with the Liberals against the extremist resolutions of the Greens.
All right, Michael Danby joining us out of Melbourne. Appreciate your insights. Thanks very much for joining us on Showdown.
Thanks, Peter.
And Niall Blair, appreciate your company on Showdown as well. Thanks for joining us. Hope you can join us again sometime soon.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, well, it is only fair that we give the Greens a right of reply to this, but I also want to move on to the issue of refugees, because Sarah Hanson-Young, we spoke to her on Sunday, but she's also spent some time in Indonesia in recent days trying to look at the conditions on the ground there and get the reaction from the UNHCR in relation to what is happening. We'll talk to her about that issue specifically as well. You're watching Showdown.